I added some more lights in here and it's almost too bright now. I've got good news and bad news for you guys. Well, I guess bad news for me, but good news for you because then I can show you something else. So I got in the solenoids that I ordered for our 5E-AT's valve body from eBay. And I don't know if I would recommend going the route I did and purchasing these from eBay. I'm actually going to return them and I'm gonna show you why. These are the replacement solenoids and they've got each different kind, but there was something I saw when I opened one of these up that kind of made me a little uneasy with using these. And then I went through and tested them just to kind of verify. So if these were clean, they wouldn't have dirty ATF fluid on them. The other thing I see, these don't ever get touched. When they're on the valve body, they don't move around. So the fact that these look like they're almost Scotch-Brighted on top was kind of a deterrent for me. All 4 of them look like that, and the other ones don't look too good either. So I went through and I made a tester to be able to see how these actuate, and I actually came up with a different plan for what I'm going to do. So I am going to return these. I'll show you guys the tester I made, and then show you on my factory ones. But just keep in mind the fact that the top of this cap is so scraped up looking, and it just kind of looks like it's been tossed around in a bin for a while. And these are super sensitive. You don't want to have these being tossed around because it could cause issues with any type of shaking or jarring or anything. So let me show you the tester real quick and I'll show you one of my solenoids. You always want to be really careful when you're working with valve bodies. I've probably said this a lot in the past 2 videos, but they're really sensitive. So if I can lay down stuff to catch any fluid and stop anything else on my workplace from going in there, that would be best. So if you see on mine the silver caps, I'm not going to be able to focus too close on there, but I want to try and show you as best as I can. You can see on these silver caps that they're not gnarred up at all. Like, they're perfectly machined, shiny, don't show any issues. So that's how they should look. And realistically, from the outside, these solenoids don't look bad. Real quick, let me walk you through what these do. And then from there, I'll go through and show you the alternate thing I was going to do. You can clean these. A lot of people don't know that, but you can clean these out. So I'm going to show you exactly how to clean them. If you have a built one of these and it's upgraded, you're saving yourself like $2,000 over buying a new factory valve body, sending it out and paying to get it modified. I am going to pull up a schematic real quick. I'll tell you what each one is and what they control. I will link the schematic, the little kind of walkthrough section. It's a repair manual for 5E-ATs, and it goes over a lot of the functionality and how it operates. I think that's really helpful for you to have that information if you're having any issues as well. This one here that sits off on its own, it's a little bit spaced apart as you can see. That is going to be the high and low reverse clutch solenoid. The first one with the silver top is our line pressure solenoid. The next one in is going to be our lockup duty solenoid. And then this one, the one that looks kind of different from the rest, that's going to be our low coast brake solenoid. Then we have our transfer solenoid. We have our input clutch solenoid, the direct clutch solenoid, and our front brake solenoid over here. So I'm gonna pull up the operation table now. That's going to tell you which ones of these are in effect in each gear, and then explain a little bit on where I came to my conclusion. Now, like I said, on this unit, I was having an issue from 3rd to 4th, where it would basically pull itself into neutral for a second, and then it would click into 4th gear, unless I had a whole lot of line pressure built up, like if I was wide open throttle. If I shifted at that point, line pressure would be good enough to push past that. So if I'm looking at this chart, I can see that from 1st to 2nd gear, 2nd takes off high and low reverse clutch and switches on the direct clutch, and that stays turned on from 3rd and 4th as well. If we're trying to eliminate an issue from 3rd to 4th gear, I need to look at what is coming on or being taken off from 3rd to 4th. So what I can see in this chart is from 3rd, the input clutch is not engaged, but it does engage on 4th gear. High, low, and reverse are both engaged on 3rd and 4th, so no change there. Direct clutch has no change, it's engaged on both as well, but the front brake is engaged on 3rd, but comes off on 4th. Nothing else changes in this. So I know from process of elimination that I will likely be having an issue with a sticking of the engagement of the input clutch or a sticking of disengagement of the front brake. Now, another thing I know from checking everything over and driving the car in the past is this doesn't happen from 5th to 4th. So then if we look at what comes on and takes off from 5th to 4th, we can see that the front brake re-engages in 5th, so it disengages to go back into 4th. Input clutch stays engaged in 4th and 5th. So if I was trying and I had access to all of these guys, and I was trying to just replace one thing to likely fix my issue of the sticking, it would be the input clutch, because that comes on from 3rd to 4th, but it stays on from 4th to 5th. So hopefully you guys learned something from kind of what I've explained about this. You can check out that chart. You can check out the download that I'll put down there that has all of the inner workings and that operational table on it. That should help you out a little bit on this. But now let me show you how to take these out and clean them. I've already got a couple of these off. I want to say these only go to about 80 inch-pounds, much like all of the other bolts on this unit. So we're going to use this high-low reverse clutch solenoid for a little bit of information. So these all have a T30 head on them. So once you take this off, you can just set it aside. Do not lose this, because I don't know where you'd get another one. It looks like it's got clips on here. These just press in. So if you kind of wiggle it a little bit, you can pull it up out and unseat it from there. Now these do clip in, so you want to make sure that stays seated, and it's got 2 prongs here. So don't go like bending it all around. You might bend these prongs, and I don't have a way for you to fix that. This is what our solenoid is going to look like once we have it out. It just gains power from this, and it actuates a little section inside here that moves a little rod up and down to change where pressure is moving. By moving the hydraulic pressure, it's going to move a valve that's inside here, and that changes the pathway that the transmission fluid takes to lock up and unlock different clutches inside the other intricate looking portions inside the transmission. So let me show you guys testing this thing, seeing if it's operating, and then how to clean it. For testing these, you can use a 9-volt battery. It's not gonna hurt anything. It'll show you actuation. I made myself a couple of tester leads. They have the proper prongs on there, and then I just connect these up to positive and negative once I get these plugged in. Doesn't really matter which way you connect these. Once we have those sat down in there, if you listen, if you can hear that. I don't really have a good way to show you what it's doing. I need a helper or something. So with that tester, I can hear it click in and out, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of movement from it. And what I'm looking at is in here, there's a little metal piece, and it should be moving up and down slightly, and that's what's going to move the pressure. By changing that, it blocks off one port to be able to swap it and send it to what it's trying to move. So I don't see a whole lot of movement in that piece, so we're gonna clean it. And for cleaning it, you can just use MAF cleaner. It's gentle enough not to really mess anything up on this. But what we're gonna do is clean just inside here. And if you have one that hasn't been well maintained, you're probably gonna get a lot more out of it than I will. It'll make it dirty fluid and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna spray out each one of the orifices. And then while we've got some loaded up in there, we'll actuate it some more. And just try and free this up a little bit. Should make some really positive clicks when it's being turned on and off. So now I've kind of sat here and messed around with this a little bit. Got it to actuate a little more. So each one of these are going to have a different actuation to them as well. The ones with these caps on them, normally they're pulling the rod back, whereas the ones with the flat tops are pushing rods forward. So you want to watch, even if you're not noticing a lot of movement in there, there could be different pieces inside this that are moving. So it's actually that inner shaft on this one that's moving slightly this way to open this space up. So it applies pressure already this way. Each one of these are going to be a little different depending on what design they have. Could probably come up with a better way of doing this. All right, so now I can see that it is properly unseating. So we have freed this one up and we have proper movement from it. So that's how you can clean them. Like I said, just want to spray in each one of these orifices, free up anything on there. You're just using MAF cleaner. Don't use brake cleaner. It's probably too corrosive for this type of work. MAF cleaner is perfectly fine for very delicate components. So that is why I would only recommend using MAF cleaner, not brake cleaner or any other type of cleaner out there. If you really wanted to kind of go heavier on this, if you have one that's really having trouble unsticking and you don't hear it actuating when you're using your little test bench thing you made, you could always actuate it while cleaning it. That just normally requires a second person to be sitting there turning it on and off the whole time, and I don't have that. I'll also clean the outside of this a little bit, then we'll reinstall this. That way we do not, that's probably one of the most important things. I would, once you're done cleaning one, reinstall it on the valve body. That way you don't forget where it goes. I may actually swap the two that are similar. That way I can see if I still have issues, it would have moved and not been fourth anymore. But I don't know, because that could affect other gears as well. So maybe that's not the smartest thing to do. I just kind of do things as I go. So whatever I think seems like a good idea, I do it. And then I can tell you guys if I'd actually recommend doing it or not. It's kind of fun. Reinstalling these on the valve body, kind of same deal. You've got the little connector here. You've got the little tabs. And you've got O-rings. So just make sure the O-rings have a little bit of lubricant on them. That way they don't bite and tear or something like that. They've got two different spots they're going down into. So once we have it seated on here, we're just going to apply a little bit of pressure, wiggle just ever so slightly. So you can wiggle it once it's in there, just to make sure this lines up properly. And then we'll put this back in. I'm not gonna torque them down right now because I'd like to do that all together. But I'll just put it in its proper spot to make sure we are good. Now I'm gonna go through, do the same thing for all these other guys here. And I'll probably time lapse that, but same process. I'm just gonna actuate it a few times, clean it out with MAF cleaner, actuate it a couple more times until it makes a really positive click, 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 click as it opens and closes. It's not sticking and making like a dull, stupid sound, for lack of better words. So I got these all taken care of. This scared the shit out of me because I knew the one I needed to watch for, well, I guess two, was this guy here and this guy here, because these are the two solenoids I was talking about between third and fourth. And when I got through all these guys with testing it, and I got to this one, I hooked it up, plugged these guys in, and I tapped it against the 9-volt, but I saw no actuation from the rod in here, so I thought it was dead. But actually it was the 9-volt that was dead, so luckily I had two of those. Apparently these draw a lot of power. If you watched in the time lapse, you'll see I actually took this one out because I was sketched out and tested this one, and this one didn't actuate either. So that's when I was like, okay, maybe the 9-volt's dead. We have another one, let's test it. Tested with that, and this one actuated. So I got this one cleaned out, then I went back to this one. It had a little bit of movement, but a lot less than this one. So I spent a lot of time on this guy, getting it freed up. Now it actuates properly. So we did have quite a bit of sticking with this guy here. I just have to get them torqued down to about 80 inch-pounds. So I'll do that real quick. And then I think we should be able to get this lined back up on the transmission and tighten down. Really check things out closely and make sure we don't have any like silicone or anything in a spot it's not supposed to be. All right, let's get this thing slapped back on the transmission. I've already cleaned off these matting surfaces, so making sure nothing is going to possibly get in the way there. I got these out of the way. I have to watch for this when I put it in, and then our speed sensor, the turbine speed sensor, goes right in this slot here. This is essentially a sump filter. I can see it's got a decent amount of shit in it. So I'm gonna take this off and clean it out. What I'll do first is put the other bolts in that hold this. That way it doesn't fully come apart. Then I'll remove the bolts for this filter and make sure I get everything out of there. It's essentially on this model just a big mesh screen, but we don't want anything in there. This thing is way less disgusting. That's not the way that goes. There we go. Those are also very sharp. I don't know why they don't make these less deadly. It's getting pretty cold out here, guys. I don't like it. I think this is kind of a good spot for this transmission for now. I still gotta get a new pan. But we're almost done with messing with this 5EAT, which is good because I'm getting a little tired of it. So hopefully you guys learned something from this. I'm gonna leave this as is for now. I'm just going to cover it with something so no dust or debris gets in here. I think this is a pretty good spot for the transmission. I don't have anything else coming in the garage anytime in the near future while I'm waiting for that stuff. So you should be good there. That's all I got for you guys in this one. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up button, let me know. If you want to subscribe, if you haven't yet, the button's down there somewhere. I'll have links up to the other videos involved in this series up above, and I will see you guys in the next one. See you later.